WIS News 10 at 7. Live, local, now.
Right now on your news at 7, we are taking a closer look at the impact Tropical Storm Isaias is having on South Carolina. We're giving you a live look at the Charleston area as the storm is quickly approaching.
And the storm is expected to make landfall along the Carolina coast in just hours. Now, we have been tracking Isaias since the very beginning as it was churning out in the tropics. We're going to give you a live look now out of Myrtle Beach. Take a look. This is where you can be able to see dark skies and heavy wind, and the tropical storm's live tracker there, you're seeing it from NBC News. Currently it's churning along the east coast nearing our state.
Well, we have team coverage with our First Alert Weather Team. Chief Meteorologist Dominus Brown has your evening update. Dominus?
All right, Donde, let's talk about it. We'll get with meteorologist Van Gaskin in a minute, but we need to talk about what we're seeing with the latest with this system with a 5 o'clock update from the National Hurricane Center that continues to move quickly to the north-northeast at 16 miles an hour. We will get the 8 o'clock update from the National Hurricane Center through this hour, but you'll notice a lot of wet weather along the coast and a lot of wet weather coming in from the west, too, with the cold front. Here's a look at the forecast, and you'll see that overall the system will continue moving mainly to the north-northeast and likely making landfall somewhere near Myrtle Beach, maybe North Carolina. You'll notice this area here, this cone of uncertainty is getting pretty tight here, meaning there's a lot of good agreement with most of the spaghetti plots and most of the forecasts with taking this system and making it somewhere, or at least that landfall somewhere near Myrtle Beach as we go through the next few hours later on tonight. And it could be a Category 1 storm before it's all said and done. Now you'll notice that with the spaghetti plots are a pretty good agreement. They're taking them mainly east of Charleston, anywhere from Charleston, really, Myrtle Beach toward areas there near North Carolina, just south of Wilmington, that we could see a landfall later on tonight. Now, we have seen a good drink of water. Some of the rainfall amounts are estimates saying that we could have already seen. We've seen more than an inch of rainfall in a few spots from some of those heavier downpours on radar that we're tracking. And we got a couple things going on. A cold front off to the west. We have bands of rainfall moving in from Isaias, and the storm is just to our south. So you'll notice there's a lot of wet weather that we're tracking over Saluda, Newberry, Fairfield counties, where we do have an aerial flood advisory in effect, meaning that we've already seen about 1 to 2 inches of rain in a few spots, and some localized flooding is not out of the question near Odoms and Saluda, the Chapels area there. Areas in Newberry, Pomeroy, Prosperity, even areas as we zoom into downtown Newberry, you'll see a few streets here like Glen Street and Hill Street seeing some heavy rain and likely a little thunder out there from some folks. And for some folks, Maybitten there, Glimpville, we're into Fairfield County here for Monticello, and near Douglas, some pockets of rain. Check out Winsboro, we're seeing some showers over you, and also near Bishopville and even near Kershaw County for Camden that we're seeing some heavy rain. Look at the rain that we're seeing in Ashwood, where you see some of those orange and red colors. That continues into even Sumter County, a little closer to Shaw Air Force Base in Dalzell, that we're seeing some heavy rain there. And then there goes a spin from Isaias as it continues spinning those outer rain bands over Myrtle Beach, over toward McClellanville, even toward Wilmington that we're tracking. There goes that cold front, and it's, yeah, you'll see that we're right in between. Some of these showers will start pushing a little farther to the east very soon. So we're not done with the rain just yet. That's why an alert day still stands this evening and through tonight with tropical downpours, some gusty winds, and can't rule out a little flooding out there. Tropical storm warnings continue for Orangeburg and even Clarendon counties. We could see wind gusts around 39 miles an hour higher. We're pretty close to it for a few spots. Hurricane warnings continue for Georgetown and Horry counties. And we're also talking about a flash flood watch that continues for Lee, Sumter, Clarendon, and Orangeburg counties, although we're seeing some of the heaviest of the rain off to the west as that cold front continues pushing in. So wind, flooding, rain, definitely in the mix there. Isolated tornadoes still possible, especially farther east. So we'll be tracking that closely for you tonight. Standing by is meteorologist Van Gaskin. She's letting us know what else we could see as we go through the next few hours. Van.
That's right. We still have hours to go with this. We still have several hours to deal with the cold front. That's the rain you see moving in parts of the upstate. And then, of course, you see Isaias along the coast. So both of these entities giving us the wet weather that we're dealing with for tonight. As we look closer at Isaias, you can see that center of circulation starting to get pretty ragged, and some of those stronger outer bands starting to move right around that center of circulation, but starting to move now just a little to the north of the town or the city of Charleston. Charleston. So how much rain have we already seen? Well, we've seen about a ½ inch in the city of Columbia, about that in Camden as well, a little less, but your numbers are starting to add up in Bishopville as well. You're approaching about a ½ inch as well. Right around those numbers in Manning. The numbers not coming in accurately here in Orangeburg because this is in the city of Orangeburg, but if you go out towards the lake all the way over to the tip of Orangeburg County, you're probably at about a ½ inch of rain in that neck of the woods as well. So the numbers are starting to add up in terms of our rain totals. We're also seeing the wind speeds picking up. We've already seen winds over 20 miles per hour in areas like Lexington, in and around Camden and Bishopville. You've already had some gusty winds, and now we're seeing another round. We're coming in with a current 18-mile-per-hour wind speed in Sumter, 12 in Camden and in St. Matthews, also in Saluda, about 5 miles per hour in Newberry, and 8 in and around Lexington. If it's not breezy out there now, no worries. It'll probably get breezy as one of those bands start to move through. What bands? Well, we're talking about the bands coming in off of Isaias, but we also have to keep an eye on the storms that are coming in from that cold front. Now, this is a typical cold front that you would see any other month of the year, but it's moving in at the time that the tropical system is moving in, so it kind of helps to sweep it out. It's really going to be a huge factor for us because if it wasn't there and it wasn't in place, we'd probably see more of a direct landfall right in South Carolina with Isaias, as opposed to what we're seeing now, which is a brush with most of our coastline and then being pushed right up towards that North Carolina, South Carolina border. As for the rest of the evening, still looking at breezy conditions, winds possibly gusting up to about 20 miles per hour in several spots, especially if you're closer to I-95. Remember, we do still have that tropical storm warning in parts of Orangeburg and Clarendon counties continuing into tomorrow. The bulk of the rainfall will start to exit the region to the north as we head into early Tuesday morning, and then the rain will be out of here, but keep in mind, breezy conditions will still stay with us through Tuesday. So in areas that are prone to flooding, watch out for those soggy and saturated spots, especially if some of those old trees get in some of those saturated areas. It only takes a nice little gust of wind and it could topple that tree. If that tree was to fall over on a power line, you could still see power outages. So I don't want you to think that the threat is totally over once the rain comes to an end. Of course, we still have a lot more to talk about with Isaias and the cold front that's moving in because it is still an alert night. We'll talk to you a little more about that coming up.
Vaughn, thank you so much. Jimenez, thank you so much. And as our First Alert weather team continues to be able to track Isaias, we have live team coverage along the Grand Strand with Drew Ungst and Chris Joseph.
Let's start with you, Drew, on how things look at Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, Dondi, still seeing that rain, still seeing that whipping wind, but the new change, the new development is the waves. To put this in perspective, we've been in the same spot for the most part for the last couple of hours. The waves have actually made their way up to where we are standing just off of the resorts here. They have been moving, I would say, at least 50 feet from when we started. They are now actually approaching the barrier here. So continuing the storm surge to push these waves towards us in these outer bands, and we're seeing the waves creep up actually over this little bit of hill here. You can see it right there as the waves continue to push forward. And again, still seeing this whipping wind, still seeing the rain here as well. But luckily, thankfully, everyone has made their way, for the most part, in our area at least, off of the beach. Now, again, emergency officials have been telling us all day that you should be off of the beach, that this is just not safe right now. And you can see why. This storm's continuing to push these waves up forward, closer and closer to us with these winds. And again, still people outside watching on their balconies, still people outside, but right now not really seeing anybody out here on the beach. You're taking a look now at the resorts behind us. Some people out on their balconies taking in the storm, just looking and seeing what is going on out here. And Jason, if you want to turn around, the waves are actually almost right to our feet here now, pushing and continuing to push forward with these high winds that we're seeing in these outer bands. And we're going to throw things back to you live in Myrtle Beach. Drew Ungst, WIS News 10.
Drew, thank you.
All right, and our team coverage continues with Chris Joseph. Chris, you're in Horry County in the Socastee area. I've been watching your live reports all afternoon, and it seems the residents there are more concerned, not so much about the rain today, but more concerned about the aftermath of what this could leave behind. Fill us in.
Yeah, absolutely. So behind us here is the Intracoastal Waterway. It's connected to a drainage system that leads into the Rosewood community here in Socastee. It's along this tree line right here. And the concern is that as this rain drags on and as the water from North Carolina and Virginia flow south into the water system here, that this intracoastal waterway will of course rise, blocking the system and creating some flooding issues for that community just along the way. We've been here since about 3 o'clock, and the water levels here have been relatively stable. Obviously the rain coming down, but for the most part, water levels really have not been an issue. I did do some driving around. The water is starting to collect in front of some homes, but truthfully, there is no flooding here. I spoke with a lot of neighbors who say they're probably going to sit tight and try to ride this one out this evening. Like you said, they're really not concerned about what's going to play out tonight. It's the consequences several days from now as this water starts to back up. Of course, we're hoping that everybody's safe, and we'll be keeping tabs on this situation as it plays out in the next several hours. But reporting in Horry County, Chris Joseph, WIS News 10.
All right, Chris, thanks so much for that report. And as we continue, we're going to track Tropical Storm Isaias.
Another view now at Myrtle Beach. After the break, we'll head south about 10 miles to Garden City for a report on people clearing that beach.